There are several tales of how affectionate animals have improved people's lives, but this one of a dead child who met a therapy dog demonstrates the incredible things these wonderful creatures are capable of. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. In 2015, this incident took place in Huntsville, Utah, in the United States. The Howard family, consisting included Ben, his wife, and their 3 kids, was an ordinary family. The only disagreements they had were the typical ones that come up in a happy household. They were, in every way, the quintessential American family. They had no idea what disaster would befall them. For the Howard family, the day had been quite typical. While their parents had been at work, the 3 kids had gone to school to spend the day studying and playing with their friends. When school finally ended, it was time for the kids to return home. As she had done innumerable times before, Mrs. Howard had gone to the school to pick up all 3 of her children on this particular day. The youngsters were eagerly informing their mother about their school day and making plans for what they would do when they came home as the 4 family members headed back home. But then things drastically deteriorated. Mrs. Howard was traveling on her usual route when an automobile unexpectedly pulled up in the opposite way, traveling far faster than was permitted by law. Suddenly, as if out of control, the automobile lurched into her lane. The mother of 3 made a valiant attempt to move aside, but it was too late. The 2 vehicles crashed in a deadly head-on accident just minutes later. Mrs. Howard and 2 of her children were accidentally killed by the reckless and inexperienced driver of the speeding automobile, who turned out to be just a young man himself. Though he was fortunate to leave unharmed, 6-year-old Caleb somehow survived the collision. Due to the severity of the injuries the small kid sustained, he was sent to the hospital in critical condition. Doctors who checked Caleb at the hospital found that he had several fractures and shattered bones, including a broken arm, knee, and femur, in addition to some internal injuries. But it was the small boy's head damage that really concerned the physicians. The impact of a head-on collision was so abrupt that the brain's tissues slammed against the forward part of the skull and back, and millions of his cells were killed all through his brain, said Caleb's father, Ben Howard. Although the little boy's body and bones would recover from this traumatic brain injury, TBI, the youngster may suffer brain damage, paralysis, or even death as a result of the incident. Ben was adamant about not giving up on his son in spite of all of these obstacles. In order to determine whether Caleb would recover from his injuries, the first few weeks were crucial. Fortunately, the little child recovered from the most of his physical wounds and was discharged from the critical care unit. Even so, Caleb still had a lot of work to do to attempt to get his brain to work again. Fortunately, his body was still developing since he was still young, which meant that his brain might be able to replace some of the cells it had lost in the accident. A few weeks went by, but regrettably, it didn't appear like Caleb's mental abilities had greatly improved. The little child couldn't move by himself. Although the accident had left him without the capacity or knowledge to move on his own, he was not paralyzed. The physicians made every effort to get the boy's mind moving. They thought Caleb's mind would start to mend itself and regain all of the lost talents if they could get it to concentrate on certain tasks. They had attempted this method on several TBI patients, with differing degrees of success. First, the physicians would engage Caleb in modest activities like chatting to him and showing him basic objects that would pique his attention in an effort to activate his intellect. The young child, however, did not react as they had hoped. It appeared that the methods were insufficient to re-engage Caleb in complex thought processes. The physicians chose to attempt a different kind of treatment since they were out of choices, even though not many people believed in it. What kind of alternative therapy was this? It took the form of a 4-legged, fluffy dog with a lot of love to give. The ability of animals, like dogs, to heal has been the subject of several recent studies because of their proven ability to reduce pain, tension, and anxiety, as well as to assist humans recover from a variety of medical issues. In addition, they frequently offer consolation and confidence to those who are going through horrific situations, which is similar to what Caleb was going through at the time. According to researcher Dr. Ann Berger, dogs know how to sit there and be loving if someone is struggling with something. They are constantly focused on the individual. In light of this notion, the physicians presented Caleb to Colonel, a golden retriever. Despite his reluctance, Caleb's father decided to do whatever it took to help his son recover, even though no one knew what would happen or whether the dog would even be able to aid the small child. Susan was the owner of Colonel, a really nice dog, and she loved working at the hospital to try to help out as much as she could. Susan brought Colonel in to aid Caleb. Initially, the dog would only remain at Caleb's bedside in an attempt to provide the poor youngster with some warmth and comfort. Caleb's brain activity showed a few indications of improvement, but nothing very significant. The physicians thought that in order to try to stimulate the little boy's intellect, they might need to come up with a different approach. Then, however, a genuinely amazing event occurred. Every time the dog visited the wounded youngster in the hospital, the doctors saw a noticeable improvement in Caleb's brain activity. When Colonel visited, Caleb would respond in a really favorable way. The youngster just shined. His respiratory function improved, and his heart rate rose. The only change in Caleb's routine that was responsible for the miracle that was taking place in front of the physicians and Ben was Colonel. When the dog arrived to play, the 6-year-old immediately became much more alert. He wanted to sit up and engage with the adorable puppy. Caleb's ability to develop his motor senses and overall all-around cognitive capabilities increased throughout time. The small kid soon started learning how to talk and move independently once more. It is safe to state that Colonel's perseverance and his calming and consoling methods were the main reasons why Caleb was recovering as much as he was. Caleb's father was in awe of the incredible event that was taking on. He had been afraid that he would lose his kid, but because to the dog's diligence and compassion, it appeared that the youngster would be well. When Caleb was feeling down, the intelligent dog would provide him with comfort and support. When Caleb was feeling better, the dog was always delighted to play with him. Caleb gradually recovered all of his motor skills and many of his cognitive abilities. He currently resides with his grandma and father, who adore him dearly. But because of all the incredible dog accomplished for him, Caleb will always have a particular place in his heart for Colonel. What a fantastic tale! It only goes to show that even though life might throw us a curveball, everything is possible as long as we don't give up and have individuals like Colonel eager to help us. Please share your thoughts on this story in the comments section below. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.